rent's still the same, and tying it back to the comparison to the mortgage payment, and that's going to lead into my next topic, which is really these secondary markets. We talked a little bit, we touched on it earlier about, I said, what did it feel like going into that secondary market when it maybe wasn't like people cheering you on?
Right.
You know, what are you seeing? Obviously, the COVID scenario, you said, accelerated it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the hardest part to underwrite, which actually John would tell you, we had talked about it previous, is that, so one of their a lot of it, they're tracking jobs. Mm-hmm. And so when you go to a secondary market, and typically when you do new development, that's something that gives you a lot of security. So tracking jobs in a tertiary secondary market is just difficult because it's usually tied to maybe 1 to 2, sometimes 3 industries, where instead of having like a broad, so you have some risk profiles there. But again, it was just, what's been interesting, like in a Prescott market, is that most of our leases come from drive-by traffic. So we could spend really whatever we wanted on marketing, however we typically might do it, through some sort of online campaign, Google, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever we do to capture residents here doesn't work at all there. Mm-hmm. There, it's the old school flag. Yep. It's the welcome mat. It's the greeting at the door, because
they're relying on different.
I mean, one of the most interesting data points we collected in that market is the amount of people that came and rented and literally wanted to move in the next day.
Really?
So it was, hey, Tanner, we got 5 leases today. 4 of them move in the next 3 days. And trying to manage around that, because usually it's, you got 2 weeks notice, whatever. Right. And so people were able, for whatever reason.
Were you thinking red flags at first?
Absolutely. Because and then you go through the income and you get them quality. And it obviously it worked out, but people were literally living in the hotel up there for 2 to 3 months just to get out of the heat, out of Phoenix, whatever. Okay. Then COVID hit and people were looking for space. But more what I found in the secondary markets, what I'm really tracking in the secondary markets, is the secondary markets that have a little bit of everything. So a little bit of art, that have some culture, have some great restaurants. If they have some sort of college campus, now we're not particular on the product that we have. We're not college student product, but it creates a great town. A great feel, and a great environment.
Energy.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at those type of things. So we will, Dale, my partner, we were looking at a development the other day, and there was a little convenience store, and we were just talking about, it was a different market that we haven't been in. I would consider a secondary market. And we were talking about the demographic, and he's like, hey, I'm going to schedule a time. I'm just going to come sit right here at this corner at this convenience store for about 3 hours. And we're just going to keep record of, like, who's pulling up, what cars, like, all of it. Right. Yeah. Just to
it's
feel
like
it.
you when you moved into the apartment unit. Now he's moving into a.
When we built it, we knew exactly who we thought our resident was going to be. We were actually pretty close on that one up there in Prescott. So we thought the average age would be over 40. We didn't anticipate having any kids. We had very few. So we didn't put amenities for that. So we built all the amenities around, reading a book, relaxing space, gym, that type of thing. But what's been interesting is if you look at the rents that we were able to achieve in this most recent one, the secondary market, which was close to $1.90 a square foot, for what we were able to build it for, that's where it got exciting. So you could argue, hey, there's a lot more risk in a secondary market, but there was also much more of a reward. So because it's actually a little bit more expensive to develop in a secondary market with the trades. Specifically like in Phoenix, of getting, I was very gung-ho that I wanted all the local trades to build this, and I'm from a smaller town, so like it's a big deal. I wanted everybody, and so we did. We tried really hard. Unfortunately, we could only get 2 trades that would do it, because the trades would bid the project like they would like a house, to make their project on a per unit basis, not a project level base.
Right.
And so they just weren't even close to being competitive.
Right.
So we hope that on the next one, as we do the next one up there, that we're able to maybe capture a little bit more. But we did dive in, with the rest of the trades, and the community was, it's nervous for them, up there. They don't see a lot of different development, so when they start to see the cranes and whatever, like, it's a lot of anxiety. So we literally went and knocked on the neighbors' doors and said, here we are, and this is what we're going to build, and met it head on. And I think, overall it went, fantastic. I still think there's a lot of runway in the secondary markets, because now if people, as we chat with some of our residents that will now commute, a couple days a week down to Phoenix.
On the hybrid
Yep.
scenario.
And they have found this balance, and so when they come, they're talking about they're going to come, and it's going to be much more of a collaborative thing for their office. So they'll come, they'll collaborate, they'll go, and then they'll go do the data entry or whatever else they're doing, away. And so I think that we have some good runway. The cost of living is efficient there, so the residents feel like they have a little more buying power. And it's very difficult to build there, so the houses will continue and are expensive. And with that, too, with the city, you sometimes hit some growth constraints, so which all protect you. So in a particular place like Flagstaff, which is very difficult to develop in, it will always probably be a very strong supply-constrained market because of their growth and their concern. Prescott, in Phoenix in particular, they're very concerned about their water. I mean, everybody's concerned about the water, but they have a lot of systems to protect the allocation around that, which is it just slows growth. So, but that's how they work. But
did you know that going in?
Yeah. So the water. So like in Prescott, water's the gold, right? The mineral's the gold. So once you have water, you have a project essentially. But no, going in, we thought our rents would be $1.40, and we thought we would lease 15 units a month, and rents ended closer to $1.90, and it was closer to 22 to 24 a month, depending on the month.
Yeah.
And so you get seasons there, and it's charming. I'm gonna go do some more there, so we'll
get some miles on the car.
But now we have data, so that's why, and we're gonna change. What we learned is we're gonna change some stuff on the product there, like meaning. I didn't put elevators in. We built garden style. This next one will have elevators access, because our residents we have a lot of residents that like the idea of a downsize. But, you do get some rain there, and the thought of carrying your water bottles upstairs or whatever. So we think that we can create a better mousetrap, that will, because we didn't solve that last time. All the residents we had were new. Our first 20 were from out of town. They weren't local in Prescott. So I started to get a little bit nervous. Like, did we miss it? Now that just, that averages itself out. Yeah. But this next one, the goal is, how do we transition this couple that has a ton of equity in this house? They want to travel. They want to lock and leave. They want amenities. Yeah. And we'll work hard to solve that.